For a long time, I've been telling you guys about one Donald Trump advisor that can get him in a lot of trouble. His name is Allen Weisselberg. And the reason I tell you about him is because he was the chief financial officer of the Trump organization. I was recently on Michael Cohen's podcast. That's the former attorney and fixer for Donald Trump. And I asked him about Allen Weisselberg. And I said, look, it seems to me that Trump can't even do math. I mean, be lucky to be able to understand 2 + 3 = 5. So that means if anything was done wrong at the Trump organization, it would have to run through Allen Weisselberg, who handled all the finances. And Michael Cohen said that is absolutely right. Okay. Now, earlier this week, the spokesperson for New York Attorney General Letitia James put out this statement, which was dramatic. We have informed the Trump organization that our investigation into the organization is no longer purely civil in nature. We are now actively investigating the Trump organization in a criminal capacity, along with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I like the last part. We have no additional comment. Okay, so what are they investigating? Well, CNN explains. For the past 2 years, Letitia James' office looked into matters including whether or not it improperly inflated assets on financial statements to secure loans and obtain economic and tax benefits, as well as how the Trump organization's employees were compensated. So now the employees' compensation is going to come into play here in a second. But remember, again, this was Michael Cohen during his public testimony in Congress, said, yeah, we would inflate the value of our properties when we were trying to get a loan, and then we would deflate their value when we were paying taxes. Well, that is totally criminal, totally illegal, and thank God, finally, the New York Attorney General is looking into it. Better late than never. I thought they should have looked into it 4 years ago. The whole time I've been saying, Weisselberg, just go get Weisselberg, it's so obvious. Well, now Jennifer Weisselberg is, his former daughter-in-law is out talking to the press about how big a story this is and how much trouble both the Weisselbergs and the Trumps are in. So here she is on CNN, let's watch.
Tip of the iceberg, as far as I'm concerned, the next thing on the agenda is to discuss the issues with the Woman Rink, the Alaska Rink and the carousel, which would be Barry Weisselberg and his role in the Trump organization and how the cash that flowed in from that and the expenses are not transparent and are not true.
They're not true. It's a pretty damning statement, and she had access to a lot of those, and CNN showed her carrying out documents and giving it to the authorities. But she said in the clip that you just saw there, that's the tip of the iceberg. She say iceberg? All right, I think that this is probably what's happening at Mar-a-Lago right now. Let's watch.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, what do you see?
Weisselberg!
Right ahead! Thank you.
Weisselberg!
Right ahead!
Stop it!
We thank Paramount Pictures for that video. Guys, let me give you the last couple ones here and then we'll talk it through. So look, she explained that Barry Weisselberg, an employee of the Trump organization, might have done things that are wrong. That's her former husband, so she knows and she's got some documents about it. And when you're playing around with your expenses and submitting ones that are not true, that is definitely a crime. She mentioned the rink in Central Park and how they might have done shady dealings around that, but she had a lot more where that came from. Let's watch.
As far as I'm concerned, there's been nothing legal going on in the past 21 years.
But it's an incredible thing to say.
It is. There's been nothing legal going on for the last 21 years in the Trump organization. I told you, of course, look at his finances. It's the most obvious thing in the world. All right, she's got more.
I respect the DA's and AG's investigation. It is serious, and it continues to be finite because numbers are finite, you know? They just are what they are, and there needs to be accountability.
I like that statement. We're gonna come back to it. Numbers are finite, okay? You either played with them or you didn't play with them, right? That's not arguable. And then finally, yes. But you were inside the family. She was at inauguration. They just got divorced in 2018. She was with Trump all the way through to 2018, not with him psychologically apparently, or giving him moral support, but she was there in the inauguration, etc. Right, and all throughout. So, what do you think? Will Allen Weisselberg flip on Trump? Let's find out.
Will Allen Weisselberg flip on Trump?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, no hesitation at all with your answer there.
Tick, 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 tick. Okay, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think, man, it's funny when previous Trump cronies like Manafort, like General Flynn, they were brought up on federal charges and they had no incentive to flip because their boy could always pardon them, right? This is not the case. This isn't a federal charge. And two, Trump's no longer in power. Whether he has the jurisdiction over something that's happening in New York while he's president doesn't matter. He can sort of wield the levers of power while he's in the most powerful office in the entire world, right? To sort of bend things to his will. He's out of the cat daddy seat. And so if people around him are getting in trouble, they have no reason to go with this. Nobody has any undying loyalty to a guy like Trump who has done nothing but just use people essentially his whole life until they were no longer to his benefit, and then he disposes of them and throws them under the bus, where we could see the tire tracks from Mars. But what I would say is, yeah, it seems pretty obvious that if any actual heat is brought upon Weisselberg, that he's gonna sing like a bird.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I have to say, I love everything about this story. It's so petty, but I love it. I love the fact that this is, an ex-wife saying everything there is to say about her former father-in-law. I love the fact that she knows so much about the dirty dealings of Trump's organization. I love how she's so clear, like, in the interview, she says there's nothing legal going on here. There's nothing been legal going on here for 20 years. They have these pictures of her wheeling giant boxes of evidence to the prosecutors. I don't know if it's just that petty feeling of watching something unravel, but I love this story. I love everything about it.
Yeah, well, there's two things here, right? One is the drama, and that affects whether Weisselberg's gonna flip or not. So part of the reason that Michael Cohen flipped was Trump was such a jerk to him the entire time they were working together. And he took it and he took it and he took it because he thought, hey, that's the big boss man and I'm making money here, etc. Right? But the minute that honestly, his ass was on the line, he was like, wait, I'm gonna go to prison for a long time to protect Trump? Nah, and I remember the story of Trump coming to his Michael Cohen's son's bar mitzvah and then making fun of Michael Cohen in front of all the guests. Like, he got the mic and he started humiliating Michael Cohen. And that sits with people. And in the case of, did he do it to Weisselberg? Of course he does it to everybody, right? Even though the guy has all the books. If Trump was smart, he would treat Weisselberg like a king, because the guy has all the evidence, right? Nope, of course not, because Trump can't help himself. So they're sitting Shiva. Allen Weisselberg's mom had passed away, and he apparently has a modest house in Long Island, which I was surprised by. But that made me like him more, not Trump. Trump shows up theoretically to pay respects, and he says, "This is where my CFO lives. It's embarrassing." And then he went and hit on Jennifer Weisselberg. Now, at the time, she's a very young bride to Allen Weisselberg's son. And he's openly, brazenly hitting on her because he's a terrible person. And by the way, they're trying to mourn Allen's mom passed away. And then he starts showing naked pictures of women that he claims he slept with to people who are trying to mourn, because that's who Donald Trump is. So is Allen Weisselberg gonna flip on him? It totally depends on if they have enough evidence on Allen and Barry Weisselberg. If they do, Allen will flip like that, right? Who the hell would want to protect a monster like this? Now, by the way, don't get me wrong, both Michael Cohen and Allen Weisselberg guilty. They worked with him for decades. I'm not letting them off the hook at all. But guys, one last thing about it. It is important because if they can actually prove these crimes, I mean, it seems inconceivable that Donald Trump would go to prison. But I mean, if it was any other person and you committed anywhere near these alleged crimes, you would definitely go to prison. What happens in a world where Donald Trump goes to prison? What happens at that trial? Does MAGA change any of its minds, or do they get even more bitter and hostile? What do you guys think?
I think we're past the point of those people changing their minds. His most fervent followers and supporters, I think if anything, they'll be like, this is a crock. He's being scapegoated. This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax. It's fake news. All the denials that you typically, hear and see from these guys. But a lot of this strikes me as just like how cheap these crimes are. Like, these guys are cheap criminals, petty thieves they are. They're not masterminds, they're not geniuses. They're just petty, greedy thieves. And it's embarrassing that our country actually fell for this crap.
Sounds about right. And
yeah, I mean, to your point earlier, I think it really goes to show you that Trump is at the center of this. And when you have somebody who is only loyal to themselves at the center of this house of cards, it's not surprising that everybody is flipping, everybody is singing like a canary. These are not really, sophisticated criminals to begin with. And yeah, I think the fact that Trump is such a narcissist and he's at the middle of all of this is why everyone is falling all over themselves to sing like canaries.
yeah, it's the last thing, guys. It's hard to run for president in 2024 if you're in prison. So that's why this story is not just funny, it's super relevant. But if they actually charge him and he survives it, well, he then will have so much more media attention around him, and then he walks out as Teflon Don again. Who knows? Maybe that helps him. So you got to keep it real and understand that those are the stakes in this story. It is not a small story. This could develop into the biggest story. And then personally, I'm just relieved that finally someone realized, yes, follow the money. This is not complicated. The guy's a lifelong criminal. All you have to do is look at his books and you'll get him instantly. They should have done this years ago. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.